Hello, good evening, and thanks again for another edition of Ideas Exchange. Remember, this program is live on TV XYZ. You can follow us on Facebook and, of course, on YouTube and other social media handles. Tonight, our conversation will be very exciting because just recently, there was a publication which raised eyebrows, especially when we got to know that activities of illegal miners are threatening the cocoa industry. Some cocoa farmers fear that about 80% of lands used for the cultivation of cocoa may be destroyed. Cocoa has been the backbone of our economy for several years. We all know that the mining sector hasn't given us much. If you want to look at the quantum of money that goes out under the umbrella of those multinationals in the industry, and the fact that few people who are also small-scale miners are really not paying much to government by way of revenue, then we have a bigger problem. So tonight, we want to look at our extractive industry. We want to understand what really is going on. Is it really an issue of a cartel that has taken hold of our industry? And so, in as much as we talk about the fact that Ghana is blessed with mineral resources, we end up going home with nothing. And so our mining communities remain very deprived compared to other communities where there are no resources at all. Or it is an issue of failed policies by government. And in recent times, you can appreciate the goodwill government has had in the fight against the nuisance in the sector. But unfortunately, it appears things have gotten out of control. Now, let me tell you a small story about what I appreciate as our mining industry. There were a group of people who settled along the coastal belt and what has become what we know as Ghana. At that time, we were thought to be a country blessed with gold at the coast, so it became Gold Coast. The missionaries were among the first who had that interface between us and the outside world. And we understand that during that period, there was something they called barter. And so we had our gold and other things we gave to them, and they also gave us clothing and others. Eventually, this barter trade with the missionaries led to what we called or understood to be the slave trade. So all the macho guys and the abled men were taken out, and eventually we understood what became colonial masters. So after the wars, they had control of a group of people who later became known as Ghana when we gained our independence. But within that period, the colonial masters had total control on everything. So they passed laws which suggested that everything that has to do with minerals was under the control of government, which today has metamorphosed into the revised Minerals and Mining Act. I'll share that with you on the screen shortly. But in short, it said everything that had to do with minerals was vested in the hands of our masters at that time, and today our president, who took control. So within that period, Ghanaians who were living or cultivating those lands had no more access. As soon as they strike gold, as soon as they strike diamond, manganese, name all the minerals. And over the last hundreds of years before we gained independence, all the revenues or the resources that were milled in Ghana were sent abroad. So today people say that if you look at the UK and Denmark and other countries which colonized us at that time, all our resources ended up there. So after Kwame Nkrumah gained independence, we had some control, but we adopted some of the laws. And so till date, our Minerals Act, and I will read that with you on the screen, you will see from the Minerals Act, as you will see on the screen, that it is explicit. And what does it say? It simply says that whenever government has anything, it says, and let me read, every mineral in its natural state, in, under, or upon land in Ghana, rivers, streams, watercourses, throughout the country, the exclusive economic zone, and an area covered by the territorial sea or continental shelf is the property of the Republic and vested in the President in trust for the people of Ghana. Compulsory acquisition of these will be taken. Now, where the land is required to secure the development or utilization of a mineral resource, the President may acquire the land or authorize its occupation and use under applicable enactment for the time being in force. And then again, it says land in the country may be made the subject of an application for mineral right in respect of the mineral specified in the application, other than the land which is the subject of an existing mineral right, and it goes on and on and on. Now, what simply does this mean? It means that the original occupants of the land, i.e. the traditional authorities or whoever who own the land, now do not have access. And so when government ends up giving these lands to multinationals, they have large concessions. And so the conflict begins where the indigents who no longer have access to the land either encroach and they become illegal miners, or sometimes they are told that we'll find you other concessions, or they live on the tailings or the leftovers when the multinational companies eventually fold up. And we all saw what happened over the last 4 years, where government has to initiate policies to clean the sector, to protect our water bodies and our environment. But we know today, as we will know as we move into the conversation, that we have lost so much, and where the problem is, we don't know. And what does the future look like? We don't know. Tonight, my guest is somebody who has vast experience in the sector. I'll try to read a little about his profile. He's the former Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, former Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, has over 20 years of senior management experience spanning from both gold, oil, and gas. Is the Director Corporate Affairs, or has been Director Corporate Affairs, Tullow Ghana Limited, that's the oil sector, Head Corporate Affairs and Social Development, Goldfields Ghana Limited, which we know is one of the largest gold mines in Ghana and Africa. Head Human Resource, Local Affairs, Abosu Goldfields, has expertise and has been tapped in Cameroon, Tanzania, Haiti, and the Republic of Congo. Plenty universities, that's his academic background. I checked Legon, Helsinki, Tampere, Tokyo, where he did oil and gas, in University of London certificate in natural resources, had MA in Oxford University, International Relations, reading law, now at Game Pass, I'm told. He's the chairman currently at the ARB Apex Bank. He's the executive committee member of the Ghana Football Association, and also a traditional leader in a gold mining community. You may know the person I'm talking about now. He's Dr. Tony Obeng. He's my guest tonight for our conversation on the extractive industry. Doc, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Doc, how has it been? Have you taken your neutrality allowance?
Yeah, I'm desperately waiting for it.
And how does this sound to you, just on the light side, this controversy about neutrality allowance, and if really our public and civil servants can be neutral or are neutral, or when they look on for politicians to manipulate the system, that can be called neutrality?
Look, I did government in Form 5.
Right.
I live in sixth form. I remember my teacher, Mr. Kobnamo, he's still alive, who taught us civil service. And some of the characteristics I remember so clearly. It was neutrality, anonymity, independence, and all those things. So you needed to cram that so that when it came to the exams, you just pour that out. So neutrality is embedded in the work of a civil servant. So it's quite embedded. I believe, and I don't dispute the fact that civil servants must be paid well. Workers must be given their fair share of their remuneration. But to pose for a specific allowance called neutrality allowance, how do you measure the neutrality?
Okay, stop there. Let's talk about our topic. Tonight, we are looking at the extractive industry. We'll focus more on the gold sector, where Ghana has actually been a bit more active compared to diamond and other resources like manganese and bauxite. Doc, let's look at our extractive industry with specific reference to the metals. Has it been worthy of really going in there for what God gave us?
Well, God was wise to have given us the natural resources. God has given us these resources and has not given others the same, which means that God wants us to be able to exploit these resources wisely without destroying other things, and also taking into consideration the future generation, so that we will benefit, do well in our lives, we will not be poor, and the future will also benefit. So I don't think anybody can blame God for giving us the resources. if you don't exploit those resources wisely, if you don't use those resources wisely, they say if you don't go to heaven, don't blame Jesus. You can't blame God for giving you a resource. Otherwise, you should even blame God for creating you at all. So I don't think that was a problem. That was a mistake. Perhaps it is how we have managed those resources that may be questionable. That would be my initial.
Now, so I'm interested in the latter part of your opening remarks, how we have managed the resources. In the early 60s and 70s, after we had gained independence, we had a number of state mining companies. So you go to Bogoso, you go to Bebieni, you go to Pristia, and a number of them. Even if you go to Akwetia, I'm sure the company which was extracting diamonds, for example, were quite very active. What could have changed the paradigm shift that just after the early 80s, everything vanished, and what appears to be a cartel-driven multinational companies who have taken over and still relying on a Minerals Act, even though reviewed, appears to be the same thing our colonial masters left us?
Yeah, first of all, we did have state-controlled mining companies, and Takwa
Goldfields, for example,
gold mining. They called it State Gold Mining Corporation, with a head office in Accra, and other mining entities that were under the state. To be honest, I think around in the 60s, 50s, 60s, there were about 46 mines in this country. That was, 46 mines.
State-owned?
Some state-owned, some not state-owned. And then after a while, all these mines went away, and, production started going down. The infrastructure in the mines got so worse that it was not possible. In fact, prior to the 80s, it was not possible to run the mines. All the mines were running at a loss. So I think it took the wisdom of the leaders at that time, after the, I think it was the PNDC era, to now sit down and see how to restructure the economy. That's why you may have heard about structural adjustment program. And this structural adjustment program, when it was introduced, the main pillars, the main item that was supposed to support the economy was the revival of the mining industry, the cocoa industry, and the timber industry. These have been the pillars of the nation in the past, but they were crumbling. Mm-hmm. So there was a need to revamp them. And the way to do that was, and because structural adjustment program was itself a liberalization program, so the private sector was now invited to come in. A company like the mine at Takwa Goldfields, many companies have come to look at it and say, forget about it, it won't work. You can't do anything about that. It took the government to sell it. In my view, for now, I would say it was sold at a very cheap price at that time. And of course, it wasn't really the price that mattered. Then Goldfields came in and realized that, in fact, beyond the underground facility itself, they could do some regional exploration and to establish some resources to mine. And that's why, in fact, for some time, Goldfields has led in the production of gold in the country. So, in a way, the involvement of the private sector has been positive. I have a background where I believe that the state must play an active role in the economy. The state must not sit back and just take taxes and expect that the private sector will run things the way they do. But the private sector must be the engine. So being the engine doesn't mean that the state must stay aloof and then expect the private sector to work and then they will take the taxes.
Now, in the course of the conversation, I'm sure the producers have sets of videos that will reflect the other side of mining activities that have been the bane of some of the problems we are going to talk about. But you'd realize that before independence, when the colonial masters had laws which took over our mining sector, it was carefully crafted to sideline the indigenous Ghanaian which was adopted when we gained independence. And so till date, you'd realize that many locals are not actively involved in mining to the benefit of the state compared to larger mining companies. What could have been the reason?
Okay, I agree with you. In fact, the thing that you read actually comes straight from the Constitution. So the Supreme Law of Ghana itself said that all minerals in their natural state is vested in the president, and the same thing is repeated in the
Minerals Act.
Yeah, exactly. Now, perhaps the reasoning behind it was that, you know, nobody took part in bringing the minerals onto the belly of the earth. It is given, they say God-given, so it is for the entire nation. So that if there's gold here under this building, then this is for Ghanaians. The people who call themselves Ghanaians, it is their property. So it will not be for the XYZ community here. So that was the idea, that it should be for all of us, not for the people who are sitting on it, because we didn't do anything. We didn't plant the gold. I think that was the thinking behind it. Now, having said that, it is also important that in the process of extracting it, it will affect those who sit closer to it than those who sit maybe 1,000 meters away from it. So, and of course, if you are extracting something so valuable, it must reflect the lives of the people, at least those who live closer. So if you see those, they say there's something in a can that is very, they say, I mean, at least, and also more to wait, if you're selling a sweet perfume, a sweet scented perfume, you would have to have the effect as well. So that is the idea that, and when it was started, because of this mentality that let us extract it for the benefit of everybody, Ghanaians were stopped from directly taking part in it, except as laborers. So you couldn't do mining yourself. In fact, there were times when you held gold. I think even in the law, if I remember correctly, if you were seen to have smuggled gold, they could kill you. You would be
executed.
Yeah, you could be executed for that. So it was to that extent that locals could not even participate. Meanwhile, like you read the history, the people of Awodia, the people of Obuasi, the people of some other places, historically have been mining gold. In fact, in my village, Daman, there was a place called Shakem. And Shakem was like, if you were in debt and you were so hard up, then you have to go and burn your debt by going to work there, get some gold, and maybe use that to clear your debt. So, and then, of course, some of the names was around would reflect the fact that there was gold there, or they were using gold for something. Now, for the colonial, I don't know whether they are masters or colonial people. If you call them colonial masters, heads, that you call them.
So those who
were in charge,
okay,
for them to say, look, even though you live closer to it, you don't have to touch it. And if you touched it, you could even be liable to severe punishments, including death and all that. For me, was wrong in my view. But when we took over as a country, in fact, most of the things that the colonial people were doing, in fact, that's the nature of our country. The things that we argue that they are wrong, when we take over, we do the worst. I think this is the same thing. It's probably the same thing. When we saw the colonial masters were doing all kinds of things, we took over and we went into...
Yeah, so that is where a lot of people have had issues. Mm-hmm. I've listened to a conversation on the nation's TV network, where Dr. Sam Jonah creates the impression that it appears as if many of our mining communities have not been like the Johannesburgs, or you go to parts of Canada and you know a list of many countries which you see the direct transformation of these economies vis-a-vis the activities of gold mining. How different, because I know our Mineral Act have gone under several reviews. How different are laws in those countries different that's compared to Ghana that has not benefited us over the last 50 years?
I remember on my days in the Chamber of Mines, I used to say this debate is comparing apples to cassava, and I think it's still on the internet, comparing apples to cassava. You see, the issue of the comparison between Johannesburg and let's say
Obuasi or Takwa. Takwa is quite interesting. You come from the Takwa area, so what could have been the difference?
In fact, Takwa and Johannesburg, the Witwatersrand resource was discovered at the same time. In fact, Takwa was even 7 years ahead of
Johannesburg.
So their comparison is quite interesting, but it is also different. You see, as Sir Sam Jonas said, if you have a system where the government has only 10% free carry interest, your investment in it is, even though the resource is yours, you have 10% free carry interest. All you wait for is royalties from the activity.
I'm interested in what may have ended up in that free.
I'm coming there. And then you say that somebody must bring his money to come and extract. For example, if you look at the oil sector, for the Jubilee failed to come into account, they had to spend $4 billion. The amount of it came from a private company. So obviously the private sector was, I brought my $4 billion, so I need to take it back if you're not careful. Now, what I think we could have done, and I'm very interested in Botswana's example. In Botswana, there's a company that mines their diamond. They call it Debswana. And Botswana has, I think, 51% interest in Debswana. And in the 51%, Botswana participate in it. They contribute capital, operating capital and everything. But they allow the private sector to run it. I mean, like not professionals to run it. It is not distributed according to political party. It is actually purely professional, and it's run at a profit. So when the profit is shared, Botswana get 51%, and the private sector get 49%. So if you want to get more, your skin must go into it. If you go to Johannesburg, we in Ghana take investment from Johannesburg. Johannesburg Stock Exchange, they bring the money here. In Johannesburg, the money comes from there. It is invested there, and it stays there. Again, if you go to Johannesburg, you have about 5 or so mining companies there in Johannesburg. In Ghana, in Takwa, you can talk about Takwa because in Takwa there are 2 mines there. There are 3 mines there. You have Insuta, you have Iduaprem, and you have the Takwa mine. So, but there you have all these mines that are producing and making more money. And obviously, they have better policies. The policies that says that if you extract and get this, we are using this to do that, we are using to construct infrastructure, we are doing. So I think the fact that we are relying on only our free carry interest and then corporate tax, and you know how corporate tax is calculated, I do my business like XYZ does his business. It has a cost of doing the business. That cost is determined by XYZ. Maybe I bought this, I bought that. Some people can even inflate the cost. And then I got a revenue of 20,000. My cost was 19,000. So we made
But Doc, you have held several management positions in the mining industry. Today, you are the president of the Africa Institute of Extractive Industries. So you are even in a better position to have a bird's eye view of what probably the mistakes have come from. Those who had control upon us, I don't want to use colonial masters because you are not comfortable with it, were able to construct rail lines from Takoradi, for example, where there was a port, to Awaso, or to where we mine, manganese, that's in Suta, and then to some larger extent, even Dunkwa or Nofing, where they could have direct access, apart from timber, to raw bauxite or manganese, and to some extent, some of the gold we are mining today. They got money to do it. Ghana is able to go onto the bond market and raise $1 billion, $2 billion. Why is it difficult for Ghana to go and raise the same money to plow into a huge investment like mining gold, or let's say to some extent, we'll talk about, how do you call it, diamond later. It's obviously a cartel that is domineering African countries, and for which reason we don't have it, because in Johannesburg you have a majority who are whites living there, and so it will be a different shift even though we are in Africa.
Well, if we call it a cartel, then it's like we are irresponsible as a country, because if we have independence and we are unable to make laws or rules or regulations that will inure to our benefit, and then we still continue to say that, because you see, this afternoon I was on a program that I spoke, and I said that mining companies are they are cowards. Mining companies are cowards. They are cowards because whatever you tell them, they will do it. They might negotiate, but eventually they will do it. It's like the investors generally, they are of that quality. Now, so if as a country we have not got, because we are afraid that we handle the state gold mining corporations and other corporations and we run them down, we think we should be careful going there again. But I think we should change the mindset and realize that. And, I see the Minerals Income Investment Fund or something. I always say that even though the idea is claimed by others, if you Google April 2013, you see that idea that they should set aside investment that came from, I think, the Chamber of Mines. When I was there, came from the Chamber of Mines. So Ghana should be bold enough to identify some of the successful, because you have all the results. I mean, the Minerals Commission would have all the data about the mining entities that are doing well, their reserves, their resource, and all that. Invest there. Make sure that you are not taking a party chairman to be on the board, or you are not taking an ordinary.
Then obviously we have been irresponsible over the period, and we are still irresponsible.
That is a problem. So that's why we are discussing.
But if we have people like you, and we have several of them, I've seen conversations where critics have taken on Dr. Sam Jonah, for example, that you supervised the changeover of Ashanti Goldfields to Anglo Gold Ashanti. We knew Bogoso at that time was a state gold mining company. Today we have Golden Star Resources. And then, of course, we know what has gone on at Daman, Iduaprim, Aboso, and so on. And today, all the companies that appear to be owned by multinationals, at the time when we're doing serious underground mining, and until when it appeared as if it is no more productive, we have multinationals who have come and are not doing underground mining, and so cannot employ more. They are using larger dumper trucks doing open space mining, you have the better term, and it appears as if profit-oriented, and the resources given back to us, whether it is going to traditional authorities or assemblies or going to government, is meager. Are you comfortable looking at the mine communities that you visit?
No, I mean, you will never be comfortable. And sometimes I hear that you're not getting enough, and I wonder what enough is. The truth of the matter is that gold production, for example, has increased significantly. If you look at 2000 or 1996, our total gold production was 500,000 ounces. Now we're talking about being the leading gold producing country in Africa. I think we are producing about 143 tons of 4.3 million ounces of gold. And then if you look at the fact that consistently in the last 10 years or so, the gold industry, mining industry, have given more. And I'm not doing PR for them, because really I'm just
I'm waiting to take you on where the tangent you are following.
I'm being professional about this thing. I don't have a business in doing anything that. But the truth must be told. But you see, the thing is that these are facts that you can check. The thing is,
but you see, Doc, I want to share something with you.
Yes.
I'll walk to the screen and walk you through some communities. If you go to the Minerals Commission's website, we have a list of at least about 16 companies that are doing active, large-scale mining.
That's right.
And many of these companies are owned by multinationals. I'm sure it will be shared on the screen so that I'll go there. My interest in walking to the screen to speak to it is about the towns where these activities are going on. And some have gone on for not less than 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, because when I knew you about 15, 16 years ago, there was serious mining that was going on. That was the time Goldfields Ghana Limited was the largest in Africa, for example. So you look at Anglo Gold Ashanti, Obuase, Anglo Gold Ashanti, Iduapri Mine, Goldfields Ghana Limited, Takwa Mine, Aboso Goldfields Limited, Damang, you have Golden Star Resources, Bogoso Pristia, Golden Star Resources, Wasa, that is our champion area, Newmont Ghana Limited, Kenyase, Newmont Golden Ridge, Achem. Then you have Chirano Gold Mines, Chirano, Adamus Resources in the Telubukazo area in the Zima vicinity, Pesus Mining in Ayamfore, Asanko Gold in Amansia West, Asanko Gold, another facility or concession in the Kwabin area, Kibi Goldfields at Osino, Ghana Bauxite Company at Awaso, we know, and then Ghana Manganese Company at Insuta. These are the very active companies. They have large concessions. Eric, but all these communities are so poor, poorer than many parts of Accra, Greater Accra region. It doesn't make sense.
This is very emotional because you are saying that the mining companies must develop you are saying that the mining companies must develop their communities, which is where we got it wrong all the time. We must demand this from our government. Hold on. That even if the government will tell them to do something, they will do. But you don't, because if there is no mine, they will construct the road somewhere. So for instance, recently, from Takwa to Daman, where you know Takwa.
Yeah, Takwa to Daman, that's through where the Aboso glass factory used to be.
It was asphalted.
But it was an arrangement between government of Ghana at the time, I think under John Dramani Mahama, what was an arrangement and that was constructed.
Yes, that's true, under President Mahama, but it wasn't part of the written agreement.
Right.
It was an extra negotiation behind it,
right,
which is good. This is why what government can do. So if under President John Mahama's time, he could convince a mining company to spend $33 million to create an asphalt road for
that stretch.
Yeah. So this is what government can do. What I'm saying, my argument is, I agree with you. We have the same emotions.
Look, I'm interested. You see, I'm interested in the emotional aspect, and it's good for this conversation, ideas exchange. And for those who have joined us, this ideas exchange on TV XYZ will come your way Wednesdays between 8 and 9 p.m. The repeat is on Thursdays between 1 and 2 p.m. My guest is Dr. Tony Obe. Many of you know him. I don't want to dig much about his background, but he's currently the president of the Africa Institute of Extractive Industries. Now, Doc, look, these communities I've mentioned, it's sad. And I'm saying that if it cannot be cartel-driven, then it can only be wasteful policies we have implemented.
But that's the point. The point is that we have our resources. Eric, we have the gold. If today we say we are not mining, all the mining companies should go, they would have to comply according to law if they are. So it is, we have failed our own selves. It is not the person who has, you have invited. Look, government go out there, they say we are going to make investment promotion, and then we tell everybody, come to Ghana. Our economy is this. We have the mineral resources. We have good policies. We have good data and all that. So they come. When they come, they say, you tell them that if you produce, I'll take 35% of your corporate profit. I will take 7% in royalties and all that. So they come, they do all those things.
Do you fear same for the oil sector?
We need, as a country, we need to know what we want and then demand for, and then also we should put our money where our mouth is. Our skin should be in the pie. You know,
what makes it difficult for very prominent, rich Ghanaians to stop short of investing in this area so we can own it?
Precisely.
What is the problem there?
There shouldn't be any problem. There shouldn't. But you should.
You see, the reason why I'm asking this question, for example, is that there's a controversy which is still hanging. There is a Ghanaian called Ibrahim Mahama. He took a bold decision to go into the bauxite industry at the Nyenahene area. And then we know what happened after there was a changeover government, and then we took the same resources and gave it to multinationals, perhaps under the existing Minerals and Mining Act, which would not bring so much, even though the conversation is that even if that is done, it is going to be transformed into construction of infrastructure. Is it the same thing that perhaps could have stopped people like you? Because I know you should have been able to invest because you are rich.
Not for rich, I'm not rich.
That's on the lighter side.
I can always say that I'm honest. So
right.
A lot of people who are honest. Sometimes they have problems in their pocket. But I'm happy with what.
Okay, Doc. So let's leave it there.
And but let me come to
the problem about investment.
Yes, that's again another problem. And then it goes back for me. My argument is that the issues are with our governments, our people who are not taking the. You gave the scenario.
And could they be part of the cartel?
I don't know whether they are part of cartel or not, but I know government.
Are you being diplomatic, Doc?
No. I mean, the cartel is a group of people.
But the cartel is part of an orientation, a mindset, because if you look at what is happening in Rwanda, for example, you have a president who has a mindset and is moving towards a certain tangent.
And you call it cartel.
Listen, and I'm developing a point. Okay. Then you have another president who is the late now, Mugabe, Robert Mugabe, who wanted to be nationalistic. And you saw how it appeared as if the international community or the West were able to manipulate the system to make it look like he was hopeless, but he appeared to have taken some bold steps to change the paradigm shift, which South Africa wanted to adopt.
Yes, so we are within an international system, and sometimes the system works a little bit against us, but it takes a strong leader, a bold leader, to say that this is the way we are going to go. And even if we were to resource our own middle class entrepreneurs, just support them to go into some business areas. This is where the effect will be part on us. You mentioned Mr. Ibrahim Mahama. I'm sure when he makes money and he's building, I'm sure he'll build he will build in Ghana. He will build in the north. He will build where he has to build. So the money will stay here. So if the issue becomes, if you're a Ghanaian and you don't belong to my team, if you are not a Mediama player, then you're not going to get access to something. Then that's where I think we get it wrong.
We'll be taking a short break, but before that, let's look at the attempt to clean the system, especially where Ghanaians may have accepted generally that the activities of illegal mining was affecting the system, and for which reason this government, compared to the past, had the best of goodwills. Now, I'll walk you through what appears to have been some cursory look at investments we have done in the period. I'll share that with you on the screen, and I've named it Galamsey Fight, some footnotes. February 2017, government announces the ban on small-scale mining. 31st July 2017, Operation Vanguard is launched. October 2017, Lands Minister Peter Mewu justifies an investment of $3 million into drones to fight Galamsey. We were told about 200 of them were going to be bought, 150 persons to be trained at that's UMAT in Takwa and so on. 2019 budget, for example, we knew that government allocated about 63.55 million cedis, which is about 122% more. For the Minerals Commission to help clean the sector. Over 3,000 small-scale miners were supposed to be re-registered, and the local small-scale industry was banned for 2 years. The multiplier effect, I'm sure all these details will be on the screen as the conversation goes on. Was that also wasted investment? Because today we know that the Galamsey fight is back to zero.
Well, I think every government have had and made effort. So I don't even think that this is I think every government has made some major effort. If you remember, in 2013, under I think President Mahama, he tried the effort to use the military. Quickly, they realized that this was not the best way of solving the problem, so they stopped. Withdrew, and I'm sure even they lost some project and all that. So when I got in fact, one thing that Mr. President told me was that please go to the commission to do anything, and he used the word crazy to change the place, make sure things work according to law. And so he wanted a change, and so we spent so much time working on some policies. I'm sure you may have heard about recategorization. Those days when I was there, where people were even making fun about that. Recategorization, I think technology, sensitization, we're looking at those things. And use of technology, yes. So there were plans that were available, which actually eventually metamorphosed into the MMIP, I believe. But the approach of show of force, I think, in my personal view, was a little excessive. It was excessive, actually. I think it made the initial interest, the initial euphoria, positive one that greeted the government drive to stop illegal mining, became problematic. And again, I think government approached it in a wholesome way, in a way that people who were doing it correctly, and there were a few, even if not many, who were doing it correctly. I think what should have happened was to isolate them and say, these guys are doing it correctly, let's follow them. But if you do it wrongly, if you don't follow the rule, we will. But they were all bundled together. Some lost their livelihoods, most people lost their livelihoods, some lost their investment, even though they were doing it properly. I think that was an issue. And if you look historically, this small-scale mining, if you call it illegal mining, have been there. I remember in Rawlings' time, it was a military government, and we used to call it Keshe. In Aboso, Takwa area, it wasn't even Galamsey, it was Keshe. And, the police or the military will come there, these guys will vanish. At the moment they leave, they are back again. So fighting it with a Rambo approach.
I remember during the regime of former President John Agyekum Kufuor, you were then one of the managers at Goldfields Ghana Limited. Joseph Boahene Edu, who is the CEO of the Ghana Cocoa Board at that time, was the Western Regional Minister. Yeah. And then we did a number of trips on this so-called Galamsey menace. Yeah. At that time, there was a conversation and an argument that why do you or does government allocate large concessions to multinationals and turn round and tell the indigents that, oh, we'll go and give you concession far away from where they live, and for that reason people are forced to encroach concessions and we turn around and call them illegal miners. Why can't that change?
Illegal mine, if you're an illegal miner, and sometimes it is difficult to call the person illegal because that guy thinks that he lives closer to a resource and he's trying to use it. But the thing is that if you don't have the license to mine, then you are illegal miner.
Doc, you are being technical. No. I want to repeat the question specific to one concern. Over the years, there has been an issue about how do you manage small-scale miners and how do you break the menace of illegal miners, that is those who are doing it without license. People live in a community, Bogoso, Pristia, Iduaprim, Daman, Aboso, name them. You go to Trano and several of such communities. Now, I have a land that has gold, and many of the people who are into small-scale or illegal mining are former workers of these big mining companies. Now, they know that there's gold in this particular area, and government has given a large concession as far as from here to Winneba, to one company, with several communities, we call them, in the catchment area. The people cannot have access because it's been sold out. Compensations have been given to farmers. And the people are told that you can't do anything within your area unless we go and give you a place at, let's say, Elubo. It does not make sense, anyway, Doc.
I won't go to that, but let me, I have managed that part before. When I was at Daman, we had, and I wrote an article, they published it in one of their scientific magazines called Live and Let Live. And the idea was that the mine allowed small-scale miners to operate at its backyard. That's why I have a difference between regularization and formalization. legalization and formalization. Formalizing is different from legalizing. So even though these guys were illegal, we had spoken with the Minerals Commission at that time, and we had given them tags, and we have registered them. They had their own names at Daman at that time. And the company had actually hired a mining engineer, one man called Mr. Junfo, and his team to handle them. So they were always there with them, don't do this, do this, do this, do this. After that, there was a debate that maybe the mining company must buy. At that time, Abosu Goldfields must buy their gold. Abosu Goldfields said, no, we don't want, because once you start buying, people are going to say they are cheating us. So you just do your work and go and sell. So it was so peaceful, very peaceful. That's why I called it live and let's live. But it was just at the fringe of the law. Now, after that, you saw people who had been sacked from other places coming. You saw people from Obuasi coming. You saw people from everywhere because that place was peaceful. So if you're a mining company, what would you do? It would be difficult for you to accommodate. Yes, you'll be overwhelmed. And then also, another truth is that gradually people will go beyond the boundaries where they've been given. They will try and go inside Ankasa. You see?
Yeah, but we'll be taking a short break. I'll let you reflect on what I'll share on the screen as we take a break. And then when we come back, because we don't have much time, it's becoming exciting. I wish we could go beyond that 1 hour, but that's what we do on Wednesdays. When we come back, we'll look at diamond, the most expensive mineral. We have it in Ghana, but no companies actively into diamonds. I'll tell you more about that when we come back.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many hour crash.
Sure. Emission, check.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadrum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much. Auto checks. Check.
Auto checks. Your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
Welcome back. This is TVXYZ and the program is Ideas Exchange. Today we are looking at our extractive industry with specific reference to gold, and we are moving into diamonds. You know the story about manganese and let's say bauxite already, which is still dominated by multinationals, and we are not adding value to any in Ghana for now, which is a gray area that any government, either today or tomorrow, would want to look at. And I still believe that if we don't take bold decisions to walk into how we can actually take a certain greater percentage of control in these areas, we may continue to struggle as a country. My guest is Dr. Tony Obeng. He's a lot of experience in this industry. Now, I want us to look at diamonds. The map you see on the screen is actually from the Minerals Commission. It gives you an idea about the diamond deposits in Ghana. So you see that this is the map of Ghana, so the southern belt and the northern belt. And then what I am pointing at is, and of course those who did mapping or geography would know that this is helping you to identify what they are referring to. This is referred to as the locations of diamond, as the Minerals Commission's website is saying. And then this is also referring to where there's been some activity in attempts to mine our diamond deposits. This is the southern belt of Ghana. I've halved it into, that's broken it into two. And you see that what I referred here is showing you where the diamond deposits are. So all these are potential diamond deposits in Ghana. And there was a lot of activity here. If you watch here in Ghana some time ago, my checks indicate between the late 70s, early 80s, there was some activity to mine diamond. Today, there is not even one company that is actively into that business, but we know that a lot of people are doing either illegal business or otherwise in the sector. Doc, walk us through this. When you see all this and we continue to brag that Ghana, we have a lot of mineral resources and every day we are finding new ones, does this suggest that people are waiting to later, after finishing our gold, come here, or it is a hopeless situation? Let's leave it like that.
Okay, great. I have always said that we pride ourselves of having various minerals and all that, but you come to see that 97.3% of the value of all minerals in this country is gold. So if you sell the thing that we sell, 97%. So it's a mono-mineral economy, not an economy with many minerals. But we have the minerals there. So I think that's a challenge. We used to have a major Akwatia mine there, which was prolific in its heydays. And today, you're right in saying that we don't have any single large-scale mining producing company in the country. All the diamonds produced in this country are by individuals, private small-scale miners. They are not illegal. I won't say that, because I mean the diamond mining is quite controlled in a way that there's something they call the Kimberley process. So the Kimberley process will not allow you to sell a diamond that has not been certified. So generally it is.
But you remember that Mr. Ejapon, the owner or the CEO or the chairman, group chairman of Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, or those group of companies, made an attempt to revive the facility at Akwatia.
Yes, in fact, he bought the facility. I think he acquired that concession. I think it was for both diamond and gold, but mainly for diamond. I am sure that the economics of what he was doing didn't add up. You know, I personally, and I need to be.
I'm also aware about when there was a changeover government, there were attempts or some disagreements over the acquisition and so on.
Yeah, it is possible that he actually bidded at a higher level than the value of the things over there. I am sure whoever was advising him, and this is a personal comment, could have done a better job than allowing him to buy it at the price. So because there's so much work there to be done, the investment required to bring the diamonds, the deposit there into account again is so high that if you...
So when the Minerals Commission, for example, and I want the slide will be changed shortly so that we look at the Northern Belt where some of these deposits are. If the Minerals Commission, for example, puts this on its website, and let's say the Ghana Chamber of Mines or the Minerals Commission or the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and so on continue to engage investors, and for you, with all the experience you have in the sector, does it give us a better picture of a country that is really looking out there to look at either technology, to enhance production, to tap into all these?
Look, I think some investors come to see them. It is not like it's totally quiet. But you come and see a deposit there, you do the mathematics, you do the economics and say, look, this deposit does not meet my requirement, and they go. So I think that's the challenge. Maybe the solution would be for some local consortium to try and go into diamond production. In fact, my understanding from the people who understand geology and all that is that they don't even know exactly where the pipe, the diamond pipe is. So there might be...
the diamond pipe should look like some of these contours.
Yes,
that will actually show.
Yes, they're still not fully established. So there's a tendency that there might be more diamonds than we know, but you need to put in money to explore.
Like the way we found oil.
Yes, you need to put You need to put in money to explore, to be able to and always exploration is in a very layman's language. It's a gamble work. You gamble, you put money there. If you don't find anything, you go away.
Okay, so we don't have much time, so we don't want to go into the history of GMPC and its attempt to find oil and so on. We have less than 3 minutes. If you want to look into the camera and speak to, let's say, the politician, government, the highly expectant Ghanaian about the future of our extractive industry, does it look bleak with our laws, or there's still hope if any government will change the paradigm shift?
Well, I think that Ghana is a resource-endowed country. It is true that our land is endowed with various minerals, and God didn't put there just for putting's sake. God wants us to extract in a way that will benefit our people. I think government must look at these resources available, take politics from that, and then really be professional about investing into the extraction of our resources. We need to support local industry, local entrepreneurs who are desirous of going into the extractive area, because that is where the resource will remain. I mean, the benefit of it will remain. Otherwise, we will always have, and I have no disagreement with multinationals who come, because they also come with some resources. But we should support our local entrepreneurs. If you go to South Africa, this guy, Mamelodi Sundowns owner, he's a South African. He's the one who is now the CAF president. He's a South African. He's a major entrepreneur. He's a mining Mongol. And we need people like that. We don't have that here. You cannot say, I mean, Sir Sam Jonah makes some money because he was working and was being paid, and then later on he used his money to invest. But we don't have someone who has made money or who will be giving money to invest in the extraction of our resources. We don't have that, and we must support our local enterprises to be able to do that. The resources that we see there, they are not political resources. They are natural resources endowed by somebody we don't know, we call God. And so we should not color the resources. We should use the best brains in the country to bring them up. And then we should also use technology. Technology is, I mean, in fighting our so-called illegal mining activities, I have always said that we need to recategorize what mining is in the country.
Okay.
We need to look at our laws.
All right,
again.
so that's a summary. In fact, Dr. Tony Obin would have loved to say much more, but I believe that he's always available and is ready to share his experience with, let's say, the sector ministry or related agencies on the way forward. But for me, I still want to leave the question with you, whether, in your opinion, it's a cartel that is manipulating the entire process within our continent, and for which reason many African nations are taking less, or it is the so-called tag politician who is not bold enough to look at Ghana first and say, yes, this is how we are going. But I took one positive thing from what Dr. Tony Obin shared with us, which is a fact because I've traveled on that road. The road along the stretch from Takwa through Damang, Aboso area, which was constructed by Goldfields Ghana Limited, was an initiative built on a carefully packaged negotiation that is benefiting the people within that enclave. It is far better to use compared to the stretch from Takwa to Agonan Kwanta. If we can get many of these multinational companies working this tangent, it will help us. If you are a Ghanaian and you can plow that much, why are you so much interested in the real estate industry, which appeared to be money stashed out there, and not also looking at other areas? I'll leave it there. This has been Ideas Exchange. I want to say thank you to my producer, Kojo Abuaje, the lead general manager of TV, which is part of the production team, Kojo the boy. On behalf of all the cameramen, I cannot mention those at the master control room, that thank you for this production. Next week, we have another edition of Ideas Exchange. If you missed this from the beginning, join us between 1 and 2 p.m. on Thursday. Good night. My name is erichianyo.